Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Samir, and thanks to the SKOCH Foundation. NSE has really come a long way, and actually, when you look at where markets were 25 years ago versus where they are today, many of the ills that investors actually had to go through, whether it was in terms of settlement issues, whether it was in terms of actually figuring out whether you actually own the shares or not, duplicate shares, all kinds of things surrounding trading in the markets. We've come a long way in terms of making sure that trust in markets is actually well established. And that's really a function of the entire ecosystem contributing to the development of markets. NSE certainly has played a very important role in that process, in making sure that the markets are actually pan-India and they're all electronic. And the depositories have played an important role in making sure that the demat accounts resulted in a lot of the fraudulent activity surrounding duplicate shares, and the fact that it took several days, weeks, months before you actually figured out you actually owned the stock after you bought it, to now clear and settle in 1 day, 2 days post doing the trade. And actually, when you look at it from a technological perspective and from a process perspective, we're actually leading the world in many of these aspects, whether it's clearing and settlement, risk management, technology, latency. Just to give you some context, NSE actually processes 1 billion messages a day, and over 18 million transactions are executed every day. That's a lot of volume. And from a volume perspective, the exchange actually rates within the top 3 in several products and number 1 in several products as well. So we have come a long way. Obviously, a lot of people have contributed to where NSE is today. I've been with NSE only for a few months, so I certainly cannot take credit for where NSE is today and the contribution that various people have made to the markets. So I certainly accept this award on behalf of NSE for everybody who's worked hard in bringing NSE to where it is. We have a long way to go. I certainly believe from a market development perspective, it is very important that over the next few years that we actually get market development right, because I don't believe we can fund the country's growth on the back of bank capital and on the back of bank financing. And therefore, it's important that we get market development right. And while the equity markets are relatively well developed, I do believe even the equity markets have a long way to go. And then there are several other markets that require development, whether it's the bond markets, commodities, currencies, the associated markets and credit derivatives, interest rate futures, etc. Because that's what is required if you want all the hedging mechanisms for people as they invest in projects, as they invest in companies. And so I certainly hope that over the next few years, all of us are able to pull together government, regulators, market participants in order to make sure that markets get to where they are. Again, I want to thank Samir and the SKOCH Foundation, and thank you very much.